Delhi's health emergency is real. Social media is inundated with cries of help, requests for bed, for oxygen, for ambulances, and even sometimes for space at crematoriums. Stutee Ghosh, an RJ and a film critic, is one among the many people who's been amplifying such requests from those in need. Stutee herself struggled for a hospital bed for her father. Thanks, Stutee, for joining us. It's a difficult time for you, I understand. Your father continues to remain critical and in home care. What happened?
Rishika, I've been listening. I was listening to the report right before you asked me this question, and I have goosebumps. I have gone through this. I have suffered, and I'm still in it. And we are inundated with requests to amplify, pleas to help them find a bed, an ICU, a ventilator. It is terrible. So talking about what I went through, my father, who anyway has other comorbidities like his lungs, his heart, kidney, all of that. With COVID, of course, the situation became very serious, and we reached a stage where he had to be hospitalized. And for the first time in my life, I had no idea what to do. And this is me, who has a voice, who has connections, who's in Delhi. And I tried as many numbers as possible, as much push that I could possibly do to get him to a hospital. It took us, I think, 12 hours when we finally got a call. And I'm telling you, I'm lucky, I'm privileged that I actually got that call saying, "Abhi leke aaiye, we have a bed for you." Then the struggle was to get an ambulance. We had to have an ambulance with oxygen because my father was gasping for breath. And when you see a loved one in that position, you're paralyzed. You don't know what to do. Again, gratitude. Somehow managed it, middle of the night, reached the hospital. I will not name the hospital. I have nothing against hospitals, medical staff, but one thing that helped me is when I went there, I saw with my own eyes what the condition is, what the situation is. Apart from COVID patients, you have accident patients, you have patients with other problems, and they all need treatment. Hospital staff, the hospital was bursting at its seams. It was short-staffed. It was 3:30 by which time we had some semblance, some clarity of where my father will be admitted, because for the longest time he was just on a stretcher waiting. I have never been this helpless in my life. We reached home. It was 7 in the morning. We spoke to him. Luckily, he had his mobile with him, and he was in his senses, so he could call us. And he told us he's not seen anyone. Nobody came to him to ask if he needs to be taken to the loo.
Right.
He's diabetic. There was no food, no tea, nothing. And that's when we knew that we have no choice but to get him back. So the biggest learning was that today, everywhere on social media, on our timelines, we see people requesting for a bed, for a ventilator. We understand that it's terrible, but remember, when you're asking for a bed, that's all that you get. It's a luxury. That is how bad the situation is.
So you're saying that your father, who was critical, gasping for breath, did get admission because you exercised your contacts, etc., but he still didn't manage a bed with oxygen?
No, he managed a bed with oxygen. He found no care. See, you have to understand that for patients who are that critical, they need care. And the care that we have come to expect from hospitals, who will look at the parameters, who will take care, they weren't. There was one doctor for 200 patients, 100 COVID, 100 non-COVID patients. So even if the doctor spends 5 minutes, can you imagine by what time she would come to your patient? That's, as a family, it was a very tough decision. But now, now on hindsight, with people telling us, I think it was a wise decision, still very brave, very difficult to handle somebody in that state at home. But we are grateful. We're grateful to doctors for video consultations. I have been just surviving on the kindness of strangers. Honestly, literally, this has been such an overwhelming time for me. And the struggle continues. Then getting a concentrator, getting doctors, getting people to test him, getting medicines. It just doesn't end.
Right. And Stutee, you've also been amplifying requests. A lot of people have been tagging you in requests. have you been in touch with people? What is it that you're learning? Because, every day we highlight stories from across the length and breadth of India of families just desperate to get into hospitals.
Rishika, it's so tough to not get emotionally attached to this, because when you've faced it yourself, you want to help. You want to help people in whatever way you can. And I've been doing that. I've been sharing requests. I've been tagging people. A lot of young leaders who are exercising their power are helping people. But it's also a reality. There are no beds. It's so tough to tell those families to find, from finding plasma donors, getting a bed, getting a ventilator, getting an ambulance, just getting a bed. It's not possible. And then now the situation is that families are desperate. So they are being advised to go to other satellite cities, towns, NCR, look at options that are far away from their home. They are so desperate. They are ready for that. In fact, one of the requests I got, we found no bed in Delhi. And then I had to ask the family if they were willing to move out, to go to Karnal. And they said yes. But when we found, we got a bed, we found out the hospital doesn't have oxygen. We're also, it's surreal. It's surreal that when you think that you finally managed to put your patient in a hospital, and that's where the struggle will end, you realize that the hospital is asking them to not come in, is not admitting them, because also the hospitals are running out of oxygen. So this is happening around us. It's scary, and I have seen it. I have faced it. I try my best. It's draining because you're dealing with your own personal stuff, and yet you want to help people. But it's so tough. It's so tough. Social media today has a different language, and I'm so glad people are helping each other, giving leads, verified leads, and all of that. But it's very tough.
Well, Stutee, thank you for speaking out at a time like this. We know that, your father has got the support that he needs, but he is still at home, and we wish him a speedy recovery. Thank you for speaking out at a time like this, and thank you for amplifying all of the voices that you're amplifying on social media while you continue to face your own battle at home. Thanks so much for speaking to NDTV.
Thank you. It's the least that I could do. And I don't know if I have time, but I just want to say for all those who want to help other people, please share verified contacts, verified leads. Don't just forward any and every number that's on the net. It's very difficult for the family.
All right. That's very important advice. Thanks so much for speaking with us.